Okay, it's time for me to eat some cheese. Hello, cheese lovers. My name is Adam Moskowitz. I'm a third-generation cheese importer, and according to the internet, I'm cheese famous. What that means is I have dedicated my life to cheese. I might eat a quarter pound to a half a pound of cheese per day. My cholesterol is killing me. Today I get to eat a bunch of cheese blindfolded, and I'm gonna rank it based on this really weird system, and then I'm gonna take off my blindfold and see if I'm as smart as I think I am. So you don't want me to mock the system. I just don't understand why it's not A, B, C, D, E, F. S stands for Superman? Who knows? Okay, but I want to stress that I'm not a cheesist. I'm even gonna love the E cheese because I love cheese. All cheese is delicious. I even put American singles on my cheeseburger. I'm not embarrassed to admit it. It's actually designed to be good there. I love macaroni and cheese out of a box. I'm just gonna put my expertise to the test today and figure out what I think blindfolded is absolutely delicious and is just okay. Let's eat some cheese, please. All right, so it's a bloomy rind. I can tell that already. I'm guessing Kunik. It's creamy, but not in the sense of texture, in the sense of taste. Sour milk, not super salty. It's definitely a bloomy rind. A little bit of a sour note, not too salty. I like to talk about salt with cheese because salt is one of the 4 main ingredients of cheese. This is probably like a double cream or a triple creme. I can see by the size, yeah. I'm guessing Kunik, which is a farmstead cheese made in upstate New York. Farmstead means they're milking the animal and making the cheese. It's goat milk coupled with some cow milk. Because I think it's a triple creme, the closest that might hit in terms of flavor profile is like a Brillat-Savarin, Pierre Robert, or a camembert. But camembert usually has a little bit more of like a vegetal note, a boiled cabbage note. This, because of the added cream, makes it like way more like buttery sour milk. In my subjective scale, an S is gonna have to be like, holy cow, super perfect, fantastic. A is gonna be close to that. B is something I would eat and eat and eat. It's a B. I'm dying to know, was I right? Well, hold on. Because of the size. Hold on a sec. I thought it was Kunik because I felt it over here. But now that I feel it and see that it goes this way, this is a chunk, and it doesn't end here, I'm gonna reformat my guess, and it's a French double or triple creme, like probably like Brillat-Savarin. Yeah, it's Brillat-Savarin. Brillat-Savarin, is like this big, and so it's just a triangle. It's like an 1/8 to quarter piece of Brillat-Savarin versus I new to eating cheese with a blindfold, just felt it here, and so that's why I guessed Kunik. But they're very much in the same family, and they're very delicious, super decadent, great with bubbles, perfect New Year's Eve cheese. I'm not gonna pretend to be the expert in what makes it a triple creme, except they add cream to the make of the cheese, and so the fat to water ratio, I believe, has to be triple. And so they have to elevate and increase the cream in the cheese or the fat. This makes it like very decadent. Not just custardy in texture, but like condensed milk meets like sour cream. Delicious. Starting me out with the triple creme blindfolded is a really devilishly delicious choice. This is gonna be fun, it's gonna be messy. Generally, it's nice when you're serving cheese to people that you wanna serve cheese from least intense to most intense. If I was to be served a blue cheese right now as my second cheese, that would be messed up. It would blow out my palate. A little ammoniated. This feels like a natural rind cheese, possibly a basket mold. I feel a little bit of a hole. It's a pudgy cheese, which means it's a semi-soft cheese. I'm guessing cow's milk. A little sweet undertone, a young plum. Because there's like wrinkles on the rind, this feels like a natural rinded cheese. The cheese itself has a bit of a bitter note, which makes me think a vegetarian rennet. There's 3 types of rennet: animal rennet, vegetarian rennet, microbial rennet. Rennet's the ingredient used in the make process that starts coagulation, the separating of milk into curd and whey. A vegetarian rennet throws a bitter note. It's either that or this cheese is past its prime. Did I get D right? Some people love a Negroni. I'm not one of those guys. Bitter note for me is not my favorite note. I live more on the sweet, nutty, sour side, but it's not a bad cheese.
So this is from Stony Pond Farm.
Oh, hi, Melanie. I love Stony Pond. I love what they're doing. I love farmstead cheese. I love the people who make farmstead cheese. So now that I know who it is, I'm moving it to a B. You know, like when you eat like a peanut, but you grab some of like the shell in your mouth? It like totally tastes like that. So when it's a farmstead cheese, there's a different expectation that I have on the flavor profile versus it being a cheese that's made artisanally or industrially. This cheese is made in the northern part of Vermont. It's a young husband and wife. They're making cheese as just part of this ecosystem that they've created for themselves. When you know that, it becomes a B because what they're doing is just so beautiful. What's interesting about this exercise is gonna be like, technically flavor comes from smell, taste, and touch. But I do think we eat with our eyes, and I do think we eat with our ears. Once I hear Stony Pond Farm, all of a sudden my limbic system kicks in. I've sat at these people's kitchen table and eaten dinner with them. So like, yeah, like all of a sudden when I know it, where it's from and who made it, I have a more deeper connection to it, therefore making it, to me, a more delicious cheese. Curating a specific flavor, when you're making Gruyere to this like specific recipe and this very, very deliberate expectation. When you're making cheddar, the same thing. When you're making Gouda, the same thing. When you're making a farmstead cheese, you're making a cheese that's part of the overall ecosystem of that farm. When you know what goes into a cheese, it has to have an impact on what you think about the cheese. Most people want to be social media TikTok influencers, and definitely not a farmer and a cheesemaker. So I tip my hat to the farmstead cheesemakers. An interesting note when you're eating cheese is that the cheese gets more intense as you get closer to the rind. And so this cheese gets, and in this case, a bit bitter the closer you get to the rind, versus at the heart in the center, where it's been less impacted and affected by its environment. Okay, more cheese! This is a dry cheese, so it's aged. This was a wax cheese, because you pulled off the wax. So now I'm gonna guess Gouda. But it's kind of sweet, so I'm still guessing Gouda. Question now becomes, what kind of milk? Oh, this is yummy. Mapley, butterscotch, burnt sugar. Going Lemieux signature Gouda. The difference with like a store brand Gouda often is a lack of depth and character. Cheese that I would put over here is cheese that's gonna be pretty one note, pretty flat, not well-rounded, not voluptuous, but like a dart. Ding! With the Gouda, that will be like tyrosine crystals, that would be like a fudgy texture, but like very light on complexity of flavor. Yeah, I'm pretty positive. This is Lemieux signature Gouda. Going B again. I love Gouda. Gouda is like a wash curd cheese. It's really delicate. And by delicate, I mean like not like kick you in the teeth. It's like very feminine, like very just like light.
Take the blindfold off.
Yeah, I was right. Farmstead was a curveball, but now I'm back. I eat a lot of this cheese, so I really know the flavor profile here. When you look at this cheese, like you'll see these little white speckles. They're called tyrosine crystals. Many people think it's salt. It's not. It's distilled protein bonding together over time. I call it pop rock flavor crystals, and they are a signaler of age and also of texture and likely also deliciousness. Often seen in like Parmigiano Reggiano as well and Gouda. This Gouda especially is refined, both sweet and supple. It is not too salty. It's a snackable cheese. And for me, like I love cheeses that like I could just like take it to the face. I do it often with this cheese. That's how I knew what it was. Lemieux signature Gouda is one of my favorites. Shout out to Betty. Often cheese people will talk about cheese in relation to their make and or their result. A hard cheese, for example, they are often taking the curd, they're cutting it into small little pieces, which is releasing whey, and they're pressing it in, again, squeezing out the moisture, and then it gets a tight knit structure, and then over time, a cheese aging is just losing its moisture, making it a hard cheese. While that's happening, it's losing its weight, and it's a product that's sold by weight, thus also making it more expensive because there's less of it to charge against. Flavor per dollar spent. Like a dish, the better ingredients and the better care comes a more diverse and robust flavor. More cheese, yay. Immediately touch this cheese and I'm like, oh wow, this feels like mozzarella. But then I gotta go around and poke the middle to see if it's burrata, because if it was burrata, it would be really creamy on the inside. Pulling it, I'm like, yeah, smells like sour cream. Otherwise known as a pasta filata cheese, which means like they're stretching the curd. How a cheese is made or the flavor you experience is directly related to how they handle the milk and what their intention is. With pasta filata, they're not cutting the curd, they're just kind of stretching the curd, which is why this feels like it has a lot of moisture. It's also a young cheese, so it's kind of sweet. Fun fact, aged cheese doesn't have lactose. Oh my God, what do you say? Aged cheese doesn't have lactose, people. Cheese is a fermentation converting lactose to lactic acid. And so what's cool about mozz is this cheese does have a trace of lactose, and it also gives off a sweet note because of that lactose, AKA milk sugar. The cool thing about mozzarella is you could actually make a cheese like this at home. This is more of like an ethnic cheese to me than an artisan cheese, but it is also an artisan cheese in that like it's handmade and can be made right in front of you. There's also a preference in that vein of like, I like going to my guy, Joey, on the corner, and he makes me my mozz, and I go there every Friday. You know what I mean? Like there's an intimate to that. Getting a mozz like freshly balled and handed to you is a really cool experience. If you ever get a steamer, which is like a clam, and you dip it in butter, and then you just eat the belly, that's how this tastes to me. I think about mozz more simply, fresh mozz versus like low-fat, low-moisture mozz. And if you're gonna make that choice, I always will lean on the fresh mozz kick. Because it actually tastes like milk. It has flavor. It's not just a melted texture. I'm no mozz expert, but this feels like mozz that is fresh made. I'm guessing it possibly made either in Little Italy or the Upper East Side. There's something about fresh mozz to me that just is like, brings me right back to my childhood. It is like the dream of what string cheese should taste like. It really tastes like sweet milk, and for that I give it an A. So not fresh mozz, damn. Which I could have picked up on the texture, but delicious. I'm an idiot, I suck. We should quit. Next, Belgioso.
Yeah.
Even if it's Wegmans brand, it's Wegmans private label for Belgioso. And Belgioso is a respected brand. I mean, they're like, if you go look at Culture Cheese Mag, Belgioso's advertising everywhere. They're like the lo-fi hi-fi. What to me is the most interesting part of this mozz is that like it's not super wet. If you get like a fresh mozz from down the corner, it's wet. And this isn't. It's damp, but it's not like losing any of its moisture. When you put it in the bag, it's like marinating in itself, which I think is why it comes off so like milky, sweet, delicious. Here we are with another cheese. I don't feel any rind, so my first thought is cheddar, but then I feel the texture, and the texture makes me think Emmenthal, but I don't feel holes. The smell has that Emmenthal smell though. Also a little fruity. So I want to say Emmenthal, but this is really good, and Emmenthal doesn't always taste good. So the texture is like a little grainy and cheesecakey. Not super salty, a little bit sour. I'm frustrated because I'm like, everything is telling me it's Emmenthal except the flavor. So I'm trying to run through my head what it might be, and it's like, could it be it's not Jarlsberg, it's like, I'm going with Emmenthal. I like the lactic pineapple note. Like I like the sweet, fruity note. Big. Oh, it's cheddar. I knew it. I said cheddar first. I did go there. What's interesting is like the texture of this is so closer to like a hard cheese, not a cheddar cheese. Cheddaring is like they mill the curds and then they cut them in squares and then like put the squares on top of each other, and that leads to a certain type of knit structure, and that's why like when you have cheddar it usually comes off kind of crumbly, whereas this doesn't do that, which is why it threw me off. This hits more like an Alpine, the friability here. The knit structure on this, yeah, I'm shocked. So part of it is I don't eat Kerrygold cheddar. The cheddar I rock is just usually a little bit more artisan, which is why I thought it was Emmenthal, because it has like a very homogenized texture and taste to it. Because like, here's the thing, as an Emmenthal, this is a B. As a cheddar, it's a D. Because like, it's snackable, I'll eat a lot of this cheese, but like me thinking it was an Emmenthal, but an Emmenthal with actual like deep character and a sweet note and a pineapple note makes it a great Emmenthal. But now that I know it's a cheddar, the texture on this cheddar is not that great. I know better cheddars. Kerrygold is Ireland. Ireland's dairy culture is a butter culture, and they're moving into cheese. And I'm guessing it's probably being marketed the way it is because the word cheddar is not a protected name. And so they're gonna use the word cheddar because you're gonna be like, oh, I know cheddar, right? But this is actually gonna come off not how I picture cheddar, which is why I guessed it was Emmenthal. Quite a good Emmenthal, actually. So, there you go. Oh, more cheese. Okay, this, soft ripened. Wash rind, and then wash rind, this is soft ripened. Soft ripened is because it's got that camembert, like ooey gooey vibe. Burnt milk. Rind's a little sandy. Happens. I really like the flavor. It's like a bitter green vegetable. Roasted broccoli. And I'm also mad at it because I can't figure out what it is, so it's a C.
You want to push it to your left, like 5 inches. Even more.
You know what? I like it right here. So here's where it gets weird. So this is wash rind. Mm-hmm. Wash rind cheese is washing a cheese either with a water solution or a brine solution or sometimes wine or sometimes an herbal mix. And when you're washing that cheese, it is fostering what we call B linens, Brevibacterium linens, bacteria. And that bacteria is then creating the rind, but also interacting with the paste, facilitating a certain flavor profile. But it also has some white speckle, which makes me wonder if they're aging it in the same room as they might be aging Penicillium candidum. They're not washing it a lot. Churchtown Dairy up in Hudson, yeah. I'm actually not familiar with it. I mean, it's good. The thing is when you're making a cheese where you want to eat the rind, you got to make sure the rind is pristine. I have to wonder why it's kind of got that red wash rind note, but it also looks like it's got some bloomy note to it, which means it's probably being aged in the same room as a bloomy. If you cut off the rind, this cheese is delicious. Then I move it here. A cheese being aged is also known as affinage, and one way of thinking about aging cheese is developing a rind on it. A bloomy rind looks white, a wash rind looks orange, an aged wash rind looks more like a basketball, and a natural rind is white-brown, kind of depends. Those are the 3 main rinds that you'll see get developed by affinage. Cheese is very impressionable, meaning it really takes on the flavor characteristic of its environment. I believe when you're aging cheese, you're supposed to have specific rooms set up to do specific things. If you're doing a wash rind cheese, that room should be geared for wash rind cheese rind development. All these different rooms require different temperatures and different humidity. And so when I look at this cheese, I have a suspicion that it is a wash rind cheese, but I'm guessing, or I bet they also make a bloomy rind cheese, and they're probably aging it in the same room. I want to stress something here. I am eating all of this cheese, and I am enjoying myself immensely. I'm also being put to the test regarding what I know about cheese. That's what this is. At no point am I really trying to hurt anybody's feelings or say any of this cheese is bad. I'm just also flexing what I know. This cheese, minus the rind, is delicious. It is very diverse in flavor. It is super unctuous. It is what I would want a wash rind cheese to taste like. What's cool is it's not too wash rindy, in that it doesn't come off too funky Famunda cheese, like toe cheese vibe, which many wash rind cheeses do. So maybe that was their intention too. I don't know. Yummy. More cheese, please. Alpine. Sweet. Aged wash rind. 6-month Gruyere, or like an Appenzeller knockoff like Red Witch. Nutty flavor, kind of like a macadamia nut. The texture is semi-hard to hard. It's got that umami note. A little bit of like brown sugar. Baby! I love this type of cheese. I'm gonna go A. Comté. Ah, I was so close. Comté and Gruyere, same family. C-O-M-T-E, Comté. Why there's no N in it, I don't know. French are gonna kill me. It's French Gruyere. Oh no! They'll say that Gruyere is Swiss Comté. So, what is the difference? Not much, really. I'm not an expert here on this. I think the difference is temperature when they're making the cheese. It's definitely a different cow. I think it's the Montpellier cow for Comté and a Holstein for Gruyere. But what we're looking at here is a mountain-based, large format cheese, approximately 70 pounds. It is a wash rind cheese. It's cow's milk, and it's a perfect cheese. I almost want to put it to S, but it's too young for me. If it was 24 months, I would have gotten an S. I think Parmigiano Reggiano is the king of cheese, and I think these large format mountain cheeses, Comté, Gruyere, Beaufort, are the queens of cheese. This cheese is elegant, refined. If the importer's describing this as a brioche crust, what they're talking about is like it's buttery and bready, not yeasty like a Taleggio might be yeasty. This is the bomb. This is, if you want great Comté, you get the Essex Street Comté. More cheese! Yeah! I love cheese! Ooh! This is a Geotrichum goat cheese. Yep, goat cheese. Probably from France. Geotrichum is, it feels like wrinkles, but it's edible. Goat cheese tastes a little soapy. I'm not really good at all the French names of goat cheese. I'm just gonna guess Seltzer. I'm probably wrong, but everything else I said is right. I'm not a huge fan of goat cheese, when the main reasons is because I don't like the soapy note. So I'm going with a C. That's exactly what I said, but I'm good. I knew what I was talking about. The names of the cheese are tough, especially in this category, because it's not my favorite category. The protein structure on goat cheese is really delicate, and so like it could go sideways. This flavor profile for me isn't my favorite. I do like some goat cheese makers like Capriole or Vermont Creamery. When the goat cheese is not that goaty, I'm in for it because I love the texture. I love like the sweetness of a goat milk. When it kicks, when it gets a little spicy, it's not for me. It's a little bit too strong. But hey, what do I know? It's thick paste here, but it's runny paste here against the rind. That's a flaw. There should be more of a connection between the rind and the cheese. So for me, it's an E. This is fun. More cheese! Yahoo! Oh, this is easy then. This is a blue cheese. Yep, blue cheese. Blue cheese isn't for everybody, but it sure is good for me. The interesting thing about blue cheese usually goes sweet or it goes barnyardy. And then sweet could like fall into like limestoney, and barnyardy could turn into dark chocolate. This one's on the sweet side, which makes me very happy. It's where I prefer. I don't think it's Roquefort, so I don't think it's sheep. I think it's cow. Gorgonzola Prelibato. Yeah, Gorgonzola. I really like this blue cheese. I like a sweet blue. It really just is like kind of boozy, like fermented cherry, really cool vibe. I'm going with an A. Oh, it's Gorgonzola.
That is a honey blue from Italy, Latteria Moro di Moro.
Huh. I guessed the right country. This cheesemaker definitely has roots and or history in Gorgonzola production, because that's the region. They probably don't want to follow the DOP standards and are looking to experiment, such as adding the mead. Definitely, I tasted the booziness of it. It reminded me quickly of like Rogue River Blue or the really cool new cheese from Jasper Hill that has the ice cider on it. I can't remember the name right now, but it had a booziness to it. I nailed a bunch of it. This is a good one. I'm still gonna keep it as an A. The blueness is mold. Good mold, delicious mold. Blue is like a secondary culture that you add to the vat. Similar like with the bloomy rind, they add Penicillium candidum. And so secondary cultures are added to the vat based on the cheese you're trying to make. With blue cheese, they add usually Penicillium roqueforti or Penicillium glaucum. These are two cultures that inspire blue cheese or blue mold growth. And after they make the cheese and they put it into the form, they'll then puncture the cheese with these gigantic needles. And so if you see that line right there, that line is where the cheese is punctured with a needle, facilitating air, and the air mixing with the culture in the paste creates the blue mold. I love blue cheese. I love blue cheese from Italy. I love anything that kind of lives in the Gorgonzola family because it's a sweet blue. They added the mead to it, which I like. Dude, who doesn't like some mead in the cheese? Like, hello. It was just like yummy. One of the best of the day. Never had this cheese before. And that's the other cool thing. As much as I might know about cheese, there's been a bunch of cheeses that we've had today that I've never known or had before. And like all good in different ways. Some better than others. But at the end of the day, I'll eat any cheese and I'll eat all cheese and I'll try to have an experience with cheese, and I encourage you to do the same. Take off the blindfolds, people. Cheese makes you smile. That's why we say it when we take photos. I found this experience fascinating because I love cheese a lot and I work in cheese, but I don't really know if I know a lot about cheese. You go into a situation like this and you learn real fast. I think it's a bit disarming to not have my eyes when I'm eating something. It is a little scary. I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings, whether you like a certain flavor that I didn't like or you made a cheese that you didn't think I represented well enough. I do apologize. I do love you. I love discovering new cheese. I love eating old cheese, and all I want you to do is eat more cheese. So thank you and good night.